Ready, Steve?
You're good.
Okay. Bring improvement services to order. Let it be recorded, Mayor Elise Nicholson, Worry, Nenning are present. Number one, approval of the minutes from the regular meeting, February 15th, 2017. Motion by Vanderleest, second by
Second.
Worry. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Approval of the agenda.
Approved.
Motion by Worry, second by Vanderleest. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
One thing, just a reminder that we do have public hearings for special assessments tonight.
Right, 6
So
o'clock,
at
correct?
6 o'clock, we will have to suspend where we're at, and we can pick up the balance of the agenda after the public hearing.
Right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Number 3, finally have a meeting this Friday. So just to, I need a motion to hold to our next meeting. Move to hold. Motion by Nenning, second by Vanderleest to hold to our next meeting. Under discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Nays, motion carried. 4, consideration with possible action on the request by Alderman Worry to allow lawn and on-street parking up to 24 hours after home Packer game in an effort to help curb drunk driving. Referred from January 9th, Protection Welfare Meeting, Alderman Worry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this went in here to Protection and Welfare, should have come here directly. This was brought up by, actually, I wish it was just my idea, but it was residents in the area who noticed a way to perhaps curb some potential drunk driving. We have a task force for it. We're trying to do everything we can to change the culture and to avoid even one accident that could hurt the driver or other people. And we've noticed there's a lot of lawn parking and a lot of street parking in the area around Lambeau Field. And people come back from the game and they're not making the best decisions, and I think they're thinking, well, I'm gonna drive home rather than get a ticket. You know, why not allow for 24 hours after that game? You can park on the street, you can park on the lawn. If it prevents one accident, is it really a big deal? I don't think so. I don't know if we want to discuss it more first, but I know somebody who lives on Shadow Lane's here to talk about it, and I'd make a motion to open the floor.
Motion by Worry to open up the floor is second by Nenning. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. The floor is now open. Just please raise your hand, I'll recognize you. And then just state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Sandra Seward. I live at 1184 Shadow Lane. I've lived there since 1974. Initially, we started parking cars just to friends and relatives, but it has expanded since then. The parking utility is very thorough. We can't put our cars out before 5 o'clock in the morning or we will get ticketed. It has to be 5:01. My husband's realized when he goes to work in the morning, especially after the late games that start at 8, people aren't getting out of the games even till close to midnight by the time they get back to the car, let alone if they stop at a tailgate party or at a bar. And they're coming around already at 3 a.m. to ticket them. And there's a lot of these people that shouldn't be driving. There's a lot of people that can't find their cars. We have given rides to people that have parked and they don't even know which direction they are from the stadium. They're by some Mexican restaurant or they're by some whatever. They have no idea where they even are in the city, let alone where they should be driving to. And people in town that want to park their cars and come back and get them the next day, a lot of them go to work on these Monday nights and Thursday night games, and they need time to recoup and get to work and come pick their cars up when they're done with their shift or whatever. And you think you aren't going to drink too much, but you get carried away with the momentum and the excitement, and there's a lot of people that make poor decisions. We've had a car run up on our front lawn, almost hit our gas utility meter. Our neighbors has had a car hit a tree in their front yard in the boulevard. Things get a little crazy out there, and it would really probably be wiser if people weren't worried about moving those cars when they should be worried more about driving safely and not getting behind the wheel. And we do have the options of the buses and the taxis, and we encourage our friends to give you rides home, but what good does that do if you want to come back in a couple hours to get your car to avoid a ticket when you're still inebriated? That doesn't really make for safe, smart decisions. I did talk to Harold Kay, our old alderman today, happened to bump into him, told him I was coming to this meeting, and he said it sounded like a wonderful idea to him, that he thinks it would be smart to give up the parking money and not worry about it, and give people the leeway to use their judgment about being careful. On top of paying for tickets or to the game and whatever, you don't want to pay for parking tickets. But then again, drunk driving thing isn't very good either, but when you're in that state, you always don't think that way.
Any questions from the committee? If not, thank you very
Well,
much. Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Thank-
well,
Alderman Nenning?
I guess what I would ask is that, would it help if it was for the parking on lawns and, not on the street? The problem we've had on the street with requests like this in the past is that, there'll be bars anywhere around the city that, that they may have patrons that want to leave their cars on the street because they've been drinking too much, and, once you start doing it, it could be really anywhere around the city where there's a bar. I know there were some in the downtown that wanted some exceptions made, so that their patrons could leave their cars on the street, overnight, without fear of getting ticketed. And, it seems like it's the on-street parking that's the biggest issue here. Just because of those kind of issues. So I don't know, would that help if it was?
It would help some if it was just the lawns, but there are a lot of people that get there early and meet people for tailgate parties and start early, and they're parked on the street because that's the cheapest way to go. And then if they don't have tickets to the game, they usually go to a bar or something, or stay out there with their TVs and continue to party through the whole game. So then when they come back to their cars, right now the Packers have limited the parking in that lot so tremendously, it is ridiculous. They can't get a tenth of the cars in there that they used to get. And now they're adding on permanently where that outdoor Tundra lodges, or what is that called? It was a tent, but now it's going to be another permanent structure there. There is people even with parking certificates can't get in. Handicapped people can't get in. You wouldn't believe the number of people that asked if they can park, and they said they got there early because they have the handicap thing, and they can't get in. And we said, no, we'll save you a spot. You can go drop your passenger off and come back, and we'll have a spot for you. It's not a good situation up there.
Yeah. Well, the on-the-street parking, at least my observation, is that it goes for quite a distance. It isn't just the area immediately around the stadium.
Oh, no, it goes for blocks. And
Right,
the nicer it is, the farther the people will walk to
goes a couple
save.
miles.
Yeah, to save money, yes. But it's only for the home games. It's not like it's, and everybody plans. The churches plan for it, that we have to plan. We don't have any kind of events at our home because there's no way we could have people come because we couldn't park them all.
Okay.
So the street parking is important, but I guess the lawn parking, but then you'd have to let people know that they'd have to be willing to park on the lawns to avoid ticketing on the street. So if we just generalized it for the 8 games, home games or whatever, it would make a big difference. And that's not that many evenings a year, and everybody in town certainly knows when they are.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close the floor.
So moved.
Motion by Worry, second by Nenning to close the floor. Under discussion?
Good question for our director.
This is just to close the floor.
Close for, yes.
Okay.
Close for.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, Alderman,
I'd like to talk to
Vanderleest?
Mr. Grenier about, what is your thoughts on this proposal?
Department would strenuously object to it.
I
There,
read the brief that we had in the.
we
in
have
the
talked
packet.
several times in the past about various alternatives to allow for instances where on-street parking or variations from the parking ordinance, and we've maintained a consistent position for 30 years on this matter. It's a quality of life issue. We just, in September of last year, we just addressed a concern that Alderman Nicholson brought forward relative to people parking in the terrace area, and now we're talking about allowing people to park both on-street and in front yards. We can't confine, legally, we can't confine it to the stadium district. This would be a citywide occurrence on any of the nights that you're talking about. And as Alder Nenning discussed, we had some discussion maybe 2 years ago, from the Tavern League wanting to do this and allow on-street parking for. I don't know what a driving under the influence ticket is costing nowadays, but I gotta imagine it's north of $800. And 30 days in jail, suspension of license for 90 days, whatever it is, a $25 ticket is in my opinion, if you're gonna take a look at the costs, is a pretty reasonable alternative. If that was me, I'd be willing to pay the $25 ticket when I got back the next day and take a cab home, okay? In addition to everything else that we've talked about, something that's not been discussed is I believe 3 times this season alone, either immediately prior to a game or immediately following a game, I had to send units into the stadium district because we had snow. Now, if you're gonna allow people to park for 24 hours, do I not plow snow in the stadium district? Do I get to send my guys home and have them skip entire areas of the city because we got people parked on the street?
I can see this as a big issue as far as Department of Public Works.
30 years we've been talking about it, 30 years we have never changed our position, and we maintain that position for the exact same reasons. Abandoned vehicles, it's hard to tell the difference between something that's been abandoned and something that's left overnight. It does cut into and deter crime because we don't have strange vehicles sitting on the street overnight. It's a quality of life issue for the residents who live in those neighborhoods. We can't limit it to certain areas. And when you open the door for one, you're going to open the door for other, everybody's got a special request.
And it also then, when you come into the concert play with the stadium, everything is jammed in that whole corridor.
Correct, because when we rewrote the ordinance to allow for lawn parking, that's not just for Packer games. That permits to be parked in the front, side, rear yard of single and two-family dwellings during the day of any special event held at Lambeau Field when the event is expected to exceed an estimated attendance of 20,000 or more. So if you have a hockey game, you would have the same situation. If you've got a concert at the stadium, you're gonna have the same situation. Monster trucks come to Lambeau, you're gonna have the same situation.
I can understand where the Department of Public Works is coming from, that this is a tough call, and you've got to make your call, which you see is the best for the
Correct.
overall community. Support that.
You
Anything
really
else?
don't know.
Okay,
what's-
Alderman Worry,
Oh, okay.
then
Thank you.
Nenning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know Director Grenier mentioned quality of life. How about promoting the protecting of lives? That seems to be, if you don't have a life, you can't really have a quality of life. And this really, talking about 10 days a year. Packer games are where you have the tailgating before and after. The monster trucks, you don't see big tailgating going on all day long. It's quite different, it's quite distinct. We're talking about 10 days a year. Now, I hear this talk of like, well, I can decide on a $25 ticket or an $800 fine for being pulled over. It's a drunk person. They don't make good decisions. That's not going to be their decision. They're just going to get in their car and drive home because they don't want to get a ticket. They're not going to think clear. They're drunk. But if they know they can leave it, go home with a friend, take a cab, do something else and not worry about their car, why don't we want to do that? We have such a problem with drunk driving, and we say we've been doing this forever. Well, then we're always going to have a problem unless we start addressing it. Quality of life, I bet you most people would say we're fine with letting that person park on the street rather than plowing into me and my kids on the way home, or plowing into my house. It's ridiculous, it's stupid. I got a letter from someone who lives in Alderman Nicholson's district, it's 4 pages long. I'm not gonna read it, told him I wouldn't read it, but I forwarded it to everyone. I'll read 2 parts of it, his opener and his closer. He did a really nice job of rebutting everything from the department, I thought. I'm writing in support of changing parking regulations within the city of Green Bay. While I'm supportive of full repeal on overnight parking, short of full repeal, I do support the petition for modifications to allow extended parking on Packer days. Now, his name's Joe Prosser, 2577 Wildflower Row. He closes by saying the truth is that intoxicated use of motor vehicle is an endemic problem in our community. We should be doing everything we can to help reduce it in our community. If only one life is saved because we decided that drunk driving is a more important issue than a car parked on the road for a couple extra hours a day or on a lawn, then we should do it. He said it's your job as an alderman, if it's slightly more difficult because someone's angry that a car is parked in front of their house overnight, you can tell them potentially we saved a life. And I think it's that type of an issue. I'm not saying we do it year round, I'm saying we do it during these events where we know people have too much to drink. And unless we can solve that, which we're not going to, we can at least peck away at it and maybe make a little bit of a difference. So, you can see where I'm coming from.
Anybody else? Nenning? Alderman Nenning?
You know, if a car is parked on the street and left on the street overnight, we don't have any way of knowing whether it was because someone was intoxicated or not, or just wanted to leave their car
We don't need to.
on the street. Well, you know, I do think that when we talked about this before, it came down to, you know, personal decisions and personal responsibility versus public policy here. And, you know, while there may be an occasion when someone wants to leave their car, my guess is that most of the time, you know, if people think about it, they'll have a designated driver, or they'll have some way of handling it. Now, my guess is that the people that park on off the street on the front yards or any of the yards, that probably be a very small number that would leave their cars there. In any case, maybe I'm wrong, but. You know, I think there are a lot of issues with this. I'm not convinced that it's going to be that big of a thing, that popular among people. You know, if there's someone that you're really concerned about, you know, I think a lot of the residents have places that are legal parking off street, you know, in their driveways, you know, and few people that would want some kind of accommodations. You know, I don't know how you'd get the word out to anyway that what the regulation would be. And frankly, you know, if I had a tailgate party in my house and someone was too drunk, you know, are they going to be able to leave their car in the street, you know, overnight? Once you start to allow parking on the street overnight, people tend to look at that and say, well, my neighbor has their car parked on the street. Why can't I leave my car parked on the street? It may not be related to the problem of alcoholism at all. It may just be that people want to leave their cars on the street for whatever reason. So I don't know. I think there are a lot of issues with this, and I'm not ready to vote for a change.
Alderman Wery?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're really talking about 2 hours a day, 10 days a year. It's 20 hours in a year. 20 hours. Are we really, do we want to say that is more important, potentially saving a life or an injury? I mean, really? Are you really going to weigh those two things against each other? Because that seems pretty simple to me. Don't we want to say the city of Green Bay wants you to get home safe? That's what we should be saying. We should be doing everything we can to try and promote that. 20 hours a year out of thousands of hours in the year. It seems very simple. If we try it for a year and it doesn't work, for whatever reason, we can change it, but I think
Except
it'll
it's
work.
it's not going to be.
I didn't ask your opinion, but thank you. You gave your opinion quite well in a big, long document.
Okay.
I
right.
didn't,
Where you have the floor,
Okay.
direct.
I didn't ask for your opinion on that, Steve.
Gentlemen,
Did I?
Gentlemen, we're not here to debate, we're not gonna engage staff. We all know,
Engage 'em.
just one second, we know what the opinion is on Director Grenier, and we know the opinion of Mr. Worry. Just, let's stick to the debate. Chris, you have the floor.
All right. I'm just saying, over and over and over, for a little bit of inconvenience, the benefit is great. Little bit of inconvenience, great benefit. And if you're willing to say, we don't want to go to this this little bit of an inconvenience, because, don't care about that, fine, I'm not.
Okay.
My husband goes to work.
One second.
I'm sorry.
I'd be willing to open the floor.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to open the floor.
Okay, there's a motion by Worry to open up the floor. Is there a second? Second by Vanderleest, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. The floor is now open. Just please raise your hand. State your name and address for the record. And just approach the bench, please.
It's Sandra Seward, 1184 Shadow Lane.
Thank
My
you.
husband goes to work at approximately 8 o'clock every morning. He drives 4 houses up Shadow Lane to Oneida, and then Oneida over to Mason Street. He sees at least a dozen cars with tickets on after Packer games. Now that is on one street. That is not all the side streets, Ridge Road, any of those. That is one path, the length of our street and then up. That there's at least a dozen cars he sees in the morning by 8 a.m. or before 8 a.m. that already have tickets on them. I don't know how many are given out all over the city or that area in that night, but they start at 3 a.m., which really doesn't give anybody a chance to do anything, especially after the late games.
Mrs. Seward, thank you.
Yes.
For yourself personally, and if you want for the neighborhood, because I know you talked to all the neighbors over there, pretty tight-knit community,
Right?
do you think the neighborhood would mind the inconvenience of
No,
a few hours, 10 days a
No.
week versus the,
no. No, it would, I don't think it would be a problem with any of them. I mean, we do have to say we've had problems. As a matter of fact, we've had 3 times this year, twice that somebody parked in the end of our driveway before I even got out to park cars, 4 hours before. And once the driveway next to us was parked. Why anybody would pull in and park at the end of somebody's driveway that's obviously home. But we called the first time and you sent one of the, what are the younger gentlemen that help you out, that don't ticket or do any of that, that
community police?
community police, thank you. They came and they said, we can't handle it, and called, and you guys had records there. I mean, I was very pleased with the handling of it. But people just don't think, I mean, and that's first thing in the morning before the games even started. People are so excited to be doing this, and you don't know how many people come and say, this is our first time. I've never done this. This is on my bucket list. This is a lifelong dream. And they just aren't, whatever. And then we're doing this to dampen and hurt. We don't want them to get hurt. I mean, they are so excited and so thrilled that they aren't always thinking clearly, and they don't always keep track of how much they're drinking while they're out there. Like I said, we've had just inches from our gas meter in the front corner of our house was almost hit. Our neighbor's tree in the boulevard was hit. I don't keep track all the way up and down the street of other things that have been done, but you know, kids stopping cars and getting out and tackling inflatables in the yard after games. And I mean, it's crazy things that go on that we put up with. I mean, that's part of living in that district. So if we can tell people, you know, we'll call a cab for you or whatever. We have given a few rides in our time. We have actually given rides to people in our time to avoid having them. But we aren't always lucky enough to have them come back and give us keys so we can move the car to the driveway or whatever. I mean, a lot of these people just are somewhere else and get taken home or get delivered to their hotel room or whatever, and the car just sits abandoned more or less until the next day, until they're up and functioning again, which I think is better than trying to rescue it.
Thank you.
Any questions? If not, entertain a motion to close the floor.
Close.
Close the floor. Pardon? Move to close. Okay, motion by Worry to close the floor, second by Van Hurley's under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Nays motion carried, floor is now closed. We're in regular order of business, Alderman Worry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to approve and to forward to the law department for appropriate wording, and then to bring it back to this committee.
Motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? I'll second it for discussion. Okay. Alderman Worry, you wanna,
No, I've said my
okay.
piece.
Anybody else? If not, I'll entertain, we'll vote on it. Ready? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays?
Nay.
Okay, motion failed.
Now, this does go to, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
This is a recommendation,
Goes to
goes to full
council.
city council,
Next
and that will have the final say. This is just a recommendation, that's all it is.
Got 1-3? 1-3 on the vote?
I don't know, you tell me, Bill. Okay,
What was
moving
the-
forward.
What was the vote, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I heard 2 nays verbally or one approval and 2 nays. So, and I'm not taking a roll call vote, Bill. But there'll be a final vote next week, okay? So-
Feel by voice vote.
I am moving forward to number 5. Discussion and possible action to consider the installation of sidewalks along Taylor Street from Dousman to 730 feet. The SO is what? Southbound?
South of.
Bond Street, levying of a special assessments therefore in 2017, held over February 15th, 2017, Improvement of Service Committee. Director Kinnear?
Okay, going back as far as the September 9, 2015 meeting, there was a request by Alderman Stoyer on behalf of area residents that a sidewalk study be performed on Taylor between Dousman and Bond. Staff identified that we reviewed the area in question, it's approximately 1,000 feet, and we did see evidence indicating that there was a need for sidewalks, so we recommended installing the sidewalk along the east side of Taylor. On September 30th of 2015, discussion with possible action regarding the same request. I stated that the traffic engineer reviewed the area in question. Traffic engineer recommended installing sidewalk on the east side of North Taylor from Dousman north to approximately 412 North Taylor. It's about 1,020 feet, less the existing driveway sidewalk sections. New sidewalk would bridge the gap between Bond Street south to 416 Dousman. East side of Taylor is mostly single-family residences. All minor and major collector streets in the area do have sidewalk, and we recommended that the report be received and placed on file. Alderman Stoyer indicated that this is a safety issue considering future development proposed in the area. On July 13th, 2016, a public hearing was held for the purpose of levying special assessments regarding the sidewalk in this area. We had 3 residents come out and state that they were opposed to having the sidewalk installed. One of the issues that was identified was when the sidewalk study was completed, there was supposed to be some feedback provided to the residents. So at that time, it was held on August 10th of 2016. The item came back to the committee. Alderman Vanderleest at that time indicated he had talked with Alderman Stoyer regarding the issue, and Alderman Stoyer had requested that they wanted more time to give the residents to prepare for the sidewalk installation. Preference at that time would be to rescind the original orders and reconsider sidewalk installation for 2017, and that brings us to where we are today.
Okay. Alderman Steuer?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, gentlemen. You kind of stole my thunder. You read a little of what I was going to read. Originally, you're correct that in September 9th of 2015, I had asked for a sidewalk study because of safety issues. I guess the issue I have, though, is, what really entails a sidewalk study? And we had a paragraph here stating that the total length is 1,000 feet. DPW recommends installing a sidewalk. And I guess when I have talked to Dave Hansen about this, Steve, I really wanted to know, is it just a matter of just a statement saying, yep, you need a sidewalk? Is there any kind, when you say a study, I just was wondering if there was some kind of a study done. I know with roadways, that might be different because it's a bigger area. I think there was some confusion on that part, because when we moved on to the 30th of September of that same year, talking about that request, I think some of the citizens felt like they were left out of the loop in the sense that they didn't really have a chance to speak on the matter. And I went out 2 days ago and interviewed all the people on the street. And of the 13 citizens along that stretch, one citizen said they would like the sidewalk. The others basically said no. Some of the citizens are here tonight, and I'd like you to hear from them as well. So, this has been going on for a couple of years now, and I guess, it's hard to believe that it's been a year already. I mean, this was August 10th of 2016, so that's really not a year. It seemed like it just materialized again. Is there a year-long wait normally on this type of thing, or is there some kind of date? I don't know.
I would direct that to Steve.
You requested to hold it until 2017. We're getting ready to put together our list of sidewalks to bring forward for sidewalks.
So it's more or less because of the studies being done to get the projects going, you need to get that in the loop, I guess.
Correct.
Okay. All right, well, I would like the citizens to come and speak if you would. I more or less, like I said, when I first requested this, I was looking at it from a safety standpoint, so I think there are some concern with that. But with the neighbors that have lived there for 30 or 40 years, a lot of them, most of them said they don't want a sidewalk. So me being the representative, I'm listening to the people. So that's one reason I went out and interviewed them again. And I'd say most of them said they don't want it. So with that being said, I'd like some of the citizens to come up and testify. Is that all right?
Yeah.
I might have some other
Thanks, Alderman
comments.
Steuer.
Okay?
Question for you?
Yes, sure.
Brass tacks, you for or against sidewalk?
I would say right now I'm against it.
Move to suspend the rules to hear from interested parties.
Motion to suspend the rules for interested parties by Nenning, second by Vanderleest. Under discussion, here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Now the floor is open for interested parties. Just please raise your hand and just approach the committee and state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hello. Jason C. Rounds, 344 North Taylor Street. I'm a resident there for 17 years. I'm opposed to the sidewalk. I was talking with Mark regarding that, and that's really all I have to say. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yep, okay.
I'm Dennis Hanson, 336 North Taylor, a resident for 39 years. And I spoke here not 7 months ago, and I really don't have anything different. And I haven't seen anything different from the city, so my position's the same. I'm totally against it. I still have not seen a traffic study or, any recommendations. I've seen nothing, so that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Name and address, please.
My name is Lori Morozic. I'm at 400 North Taylor Street. And I also spoke last year. And my position, I understand the safety part of it with people walking, so I'm not discounting that at all. The part that I have an issue with is just the financial burden. I've lived in my house for 16 years now. One of the things when I was first in 2000, when I was hired by the city of Green Bay in Human Resources, they still had residency at the time, and I needed to move into the city. And one of the perks that I saw as picking the house that I picked was that there weren't any sidewalks. I wasn't going to have to maintain them, whether it was snow on a day like this or ice, or just the financial burden of if a tree uproots the sidewalk, that's another financial burden down the road that we would have to bear. So those were some of the things that I looked at with not wanting sidewalks at the house that I purchased. And I guess I don't understand why years and years ago when the subdivision was first put in, there are sidewalks down the street from us, and why wasn't at that time, why weren't the sidewalks put in, for those people that own the homes, like way back then? Why is it just now? So I guess that's my issue, it's just the financial burden. And I know last year I asked if there was any way that, the city can pay a portion and we pay a portion, if that is even an issue, because we're not asking for the sidewalks, we're being just told this has to happen. And it's just difficult, the financial piece. And so one of the things that when we were standing in the hallway earlier, on other streets, Dennis was talking about that they put lines along the edge of the street. Maybe there's not a sidewalk there, but could there be lines, like a bike lane or a walking lane? I don't know if Taylor Street is wide enough to do something like that, if that's even been looked at as an option where the sidewalk ends, or if it's been looked at on the other side of the street. I know that's Howard, and that's a business over there, and if the issue is more traffic or pedestrian traffic coming in with businesses or development in the community, if that's been talked about on the other side of the street with the businesses, if they're going to be bringing in all these pedestrians walking, can that sidewalk be put on the other side of the street rather than on the residential side? So those are just some of the issues that I wanted to raise. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience? If not, I'll entertain a motion to return to regular order business. So moved. By Weary, second by Nenning. Under discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. We are in regular order business. What are the wishes of the committee?
Well, what do we have around the neighborhood? Do most of the streets have sidewalks?
Yes.
Some that don't? I know the other side of Bond is not City Green Bay, right? Or is it?
The other side of Taylor.
Oh, the other side of Taylor neighborhood, yeah. It's not City of Green Bay.
Right, that's building power too.
But pretty much everything else in the neighborhood has sidewalks.
I believe that's the case. That's consistent with what I have in my notes from the traffic engineer.
Okay. And apparently he felt that the need for pedestrian safety was such that.
Again, we did not bring this recommendation forward. We responded to a request. When
I
we
see.
went out, we did this, we took a look, found that there was a gap on a collector or a minor arterial, and given the nature of the traffic in the area where the gap existed, our recommendation was to close the gap.
Okay. Now, the cost of sidewalk keeps going up, right? I mean,
Cost of everything keeps going up, yes.
it's higher this year than it was last year.
Don't know, we haven't bid the sidewalk
Oh, we
contract
haven't done
yet.
it yet. Okay. But the trend has been increased costs, so we delay it, it isn't going to really help the residents that much because costs will likely be higher down the line.
Stands to reason.
Okay.
Any other questions, Dave?
No, that's it right
Not
now.
Alderman Worry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have 3 points and then I'll have a motion. First one is the residents overwhelmingly don't want it. Like, it's 4 points. The alderman doesn't want it. It's 2. There's alternate routes with walks nearby. And third, if you go across Bond Street down Taylor, that's Howard, all those streets back in there, Memorial and, boy, there's just apartments and houses, none of those have sidewalks. That entire neighborhood. And they get along just fine. I used to deliver mail back there and seem to do just fine. So for those four reasons, I'll make a motion not to install sidewalks, Dousman to Bond.
Motion by Worry to, what was it again?
Remove, I guess, the installation, the proposed installation, or just motion not to install, whatever was
Is that the
appropriate.
proper
Well-
motion, Steve?
To deny the installation.
Okay, that's the motion. Is there a second?
Well, I guess I'll second it.
Okay, Nenning second under discussion.
I'll
Dave?
explain why the Alderman brought in the request, and he's withdrawing his request now,
Well,
basically, right?
initially, I brought this forward as a safety study, and I think the reason right now that I'm looking at denial is because the overwhelming neighborhood feeling about it. So I'm listening to the people. That's the reason I'm doing it. Plain and simple.
Okay. Dave?
No, I'll support that, I respect that, and, you know, I guess that ends the issue then.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried.
Let's go to council next week, so could potentially be talked about there. I think Alderman started off.
Number 6, consideration with possible action on a request by Oak Grove Neighborhood Association to construct above-ground planting bed around sculpture on city-owned property in 1600 block East Mesa Street. Director Kinnear.
A few years ago, the Oak Grove Neighborhood Association came to us. They had two separate requests that we acted on at different times. One of which was the installation of a neighborhood sign, which is consistent with many neighborhood associations around the city. Then secondly, they came to us with a request to have a sculpture put up, and this is on a piece of property that's immediately to the west of Happy Joe's and north of Croco Wall Funeral Home. There's kind of a triangularly shaped piece of property there that's city-owned property. So their sculpture, they call the Twig, is also located on that property. What the association is now requesting is permission to put a beautification project around the Twig sculpture and coming up to the neighborhood sign. They're looking at construction of a 6-foot diameter circular planter around the base of the Twig, using Belgian landscape stone, and 2 courses high, filled with soil, and then planting and landscaping it. This will be completely funded through the Oak Grove Neighborhood Association and the Green Bay Neighborhood Leadership Council. For those of you who are aware or familiar with the area, Starlight is on the south side of Mason and slightly to the east of this location, and Starlight also has theirs planted very nicely. So I think what they're looking at doing is something very similar, or, you know, along the same lines of Starlight. We have a few minor concerns that I think are very easily addressed. There are some, we now have a terrace policy, which did not exist when Starlight's location went in. So we would ask that final location of this landscaping area be approved by DPW at a staff level, and that the landscape area be consistent with the city's terrace policy. Given the size of the parcel that's out there, I'm very confident that we can stay out of the setback areas for right-of-way and still provide them with what they need. This would give us the flexibility at a staff level to just go ahead and work with the neighborhood association to achieve the goal that they're trying to accomplish, and not have to bring it back for fine-tuning at a committee level at that point.
Any questions for the director?
I move to approve the request.
Motion by
with
Nenning
the,
to approve, second by
provisions.
Vanderleest. Under discussion?
Under
Hearing none-
discussion, I just wanted to
Alderman
clarify,
Murray.
I think Alderman Manning was about to say the final location approved by DPW staff and landscaping per city terrace policy.
Right.
Just to get it
Okay.
official.
Perfect.
No, but is anybody here for this one?
No, I did speak with the people from Oak Grove Neighborhood Association. It's kind of, their area includes my district, Alderman Nicholson's district, and part of Alderman Galvin's district. So they've done some really nice neighborhood projects, and I'm sure this will be very nice too. So
Get it built.
I support it.
Pretty soon they'll look as good as the west side.
Yeah. You mean Fort Howard? All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. moving forward. Number 7, consideration with possible action, Department of Public Works Capital Improvement Program for 2017. Director Grenier.
This came out to you on Tuesday. We provided a copy of the capital improvement program. So, starting with the first page, or actually I guess it's page 2, behind the cover page, we have quite a subdivision program coming about this season. Bradley Estates, Sitka Heights, and Eaton Heights 2 were identified last year in the 16 program, and they look like they're going to go forward this year. Additionally, third phase of the Preserve, some work at Grandview Place, and phase 3 of Excalibur are all, we've been in contact with the respective developers for those locations, and they've indicated that they wanted to move forward. And phase 2 at Sandridge Park is looking to move forward this year as well. Moving on to local streets, Springdale Lane and Terra Marie, we've got some areas over there that, especially on Terra Marie, where historically that was a low swampy area when the subdivision went in. And as a result, with freeze thaw, we've got storm sewers moving around, causing some distress in pavement and some pretty nasty bumps in the road. So we're going to go in there and get that taken care of. Most of these, as we go through, as a general rule, if you see a item that has an asterisk indicating it's a carryover, those were projects that we bonded for in 2016 so we could get out the door early in 2017, not have to wait for the bond issue to catch up to us. So just a general note there. Madison, Van Buren, and Webster are full reconstructs, as is Smith. This Smith Street project is a new one. That's basically around the 1100 block on Smith. It's an area of known street ponding when we get high water. That's up in Alderman Moore's district. And with the North Webster project coming in a couple of years, the DOT project that's going on North Webster, by doing Smith ahead of that, we can actually get Smith set up so that we get the sewers upsized and the street reconstructed, and that'll discharge over to Webster for when Webster comes online. So we're helping to leverage that Webster Avenue project with the Smith Street project to tie it together. Going to the NHS routes, North Webster Avenue design, again, that's a carryover project from last year. New this year is a big dollar item on that North Webster though. If you look under the right-of-way column, we're looking at about $3.3 million in right-of-way acquisition up there. That's a combination between the actual real estate acquisition and any relocation benefits for those people who are going to be displaced. The reason we're bonding for that this year, we need to start acquiring that right-of-way as soon as possible so that we're in position next year to have those houses bought. We can start demoing the houses so we can do the utility work in 2018 ahead of the road project. Again, Sitka Street is a carryover from last year. Sitka, the street is actually tied together with two of the subdivisions that we talked about earlier. That's Sitka Heights and Bradley Estates. So this would take us from Christa McAuliffe Park on Ontario all the way down to Superior, which runs parallel on the east side of I-43. Mather and Gray Street, we're in the design process. So again, those are showing as carryover projects because we continue to do work on them in 2017. One of the things that was identified during that Mather Street design was that we are going to need to design a storm sewer lift station. Very flat area, very shallow sewers. So we've got some dollars set aside in the CIP this year for design and construction of that lift station and then some storm sewer modifications associated with that. Going to page 4 of 7, we've got our traffic signal repair contract for this year. We're going to be redoing the signals at Mason and Main. Several years back, I think it was probably around 2010 or thereabouts, maybe even a little before that, maybe around 2006. We did quite a bit of work down at Mason and Main, but didn't get we got most of the underground stuff, but not all of the above ground. So this project is intended to go back and finish that intersection off that we started several years ago. There is also money set aside in there to provide interconnect. And with the interconnect, it's basically fiber optic cable that runs from signal to signal to signal to help them communicate with each other so they optimize their operation. There are 3 signals up around the Festival Foods on University Avenue. One where former University comes out to University Way, kind of by Fox River Motors. There's a brand new signal there. There's the existing signal at University Way and Sturgeon Bay Road, and then a new signal where Clement Street comes out to Sturgeon Bay Road. We're gonna get those 3 signals to talk to each other. So there's some money set aside in here for this. This was all anticipated as part of the traffic impact analysis with that development for Festival Foods. We've got traffic signal reconstruction. This is the traffic signal portion of the South Webster Avenue project. So it's replacing the signals in Port Leader and Webster at Cass. We've also got $500,000 in the railroad crossing repairs program. Again, you're going to see that there is no city cost associated with that. That's because that is money coming out of the excess stadium district money. So that's why we're not showing it for as city cost. For city cost winds up being bonding purposes, so we're not going to have to bond for that. Our bridge repairs, we're actually making some pretty good progress with some of this work on bridges. And this is all tied into now in our special projects division. We have Jessica Peterson as a staff engineer over there. Jessica's got a pretty wide background with bridges. She's taken over the bridge program. So we put some money aside last year that's going to be utilized this year, and then we're putting some additional money aside this year to help supplement that so we can get a jump up on some of these bridge repairs that have been lagging over the past few years. Our annual projects, the asphalt resurfacing, local streets, that's our resurfacing program that we're going to be talking about, I believe, at our in 2 weeks, our next meeting. The pavement repairs for the resurfacing program, that includes things such as curb and gutter repair, or sidewalk repairs, or if there's concrete base that needs to be repaired as part of that asphalt resurfacing. As part of the asphalt resurfacing program, that's not necessarily full streets in a residential neighborhood. We also usually set aside about $60,000. That covers miscellaneous patches. If we notice that there's a portion of the street that needs some work that's too big for our street section to go out and do, we have the contractors come in and do that. We've got money set aside to take care of that miscellaneous patching across the city. Concrete pavement repairs is an annual contract that we do for concrete streets. So there's $525,000 for that. We do hold $25,000 for mud jacking. Again, mud jacking is used various locations around the city to try to promote positive drainage, something short of tearing out curb and gutter or sidewalks or things of that nature. Much lower cost and oftentimes is successful. And then we have the sidewalks, new and replacement sidewalks. We're anticipating about a $360,000 contract there, of which about $100,000 is city cost, the rest is assessed back to
Before
the
you
property.
flip the page, can I ask a
Certainly.
question? East River pedestrian bridge, that's that bridge going over the East River there.
Between-
Right behind the Joanne Stadium.
Correct, and Ann Sullivan Park.
And what kind of repairs do we need to do there?
Deck work, I believe it is.
What's that?
Deck work.
Deck work?
Deck and there's
And
some,
structural steel.
yeah, there's some deck work, some structural steel, and a little bit of work at the abutments where there's some erosion going on.
Okay, I was just curious because that's well close to my district.
That's one of the bridges that has been neglected for quite some time.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Moving on to page 5 of 7, now we're starting to get into our sewer contracts. Again, for the past several years, we've been doing basin televising to help. We've contracted with a private firm to do some televising that helps supplement the work we're able to do in-house. So Matt Heckenleibel has identified the basins that we're going to be televising this year. We are looking at replacing a roof on a lift station, on a sanitary station at Thrush Street, and doing a relocation of a sanitary sewer on Reber Street. Again, that is another project that we're taking on this year ahead of the North Webster reconstruction. The way that Reber Street line weaves through there, and given the age of the Reber Street line, we have an opportunity to upgrade that and avoid a potential future issue. And by doing it this year, we can get out ahead of the Webster Avenue project, so when we do Webster, we can tie everything together. Irwin has, the Irwin Street and Webster Street storm lift stations both have issues with roofs that need repair, so we've got $50,000 for each of those stations, plus a flap gate repair on the Quincy Street lift station. Mossy Oak for stormwater management, the Mossy Oak Stormwater Facility construction, we've got $500,000 in outfall rehab and repair. Elizabeth Street between University and Maine, to upsize that. Sitka Street Stormwater Facility, that's going to be a regional facility that will service, there are 3 areas that are available for development. 2 of them have been identified in the subdivisions that we identified earlier, and then there's also a property on the southeast corner of Superior and Sitka that's available, that's still open and available for development. This is a regional pond that will service that entire area. Stormwater facility maintenance management, we talked last meeting about some contracts for firms to do stormwater maintenance at our stormwater facilities, so this is the funding to cover that. We talked about the Grandview Place development, some additional work that's going to be going on in there with some multifamily development. Again, there's going to be a need for a series of regional stormwater facilities to service Grandview. And then 500 South Broadway lift station.
Excuse me, Steve, I have 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can suspend right now.
Okay, we'll come back.
Sure.
You just want to make a note where you were?
Got it right here. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Let's go to the hearing. You have to be excused. You are excused, Dave. Okay, right now, we're going to have...
Your parents' cards for home.
Sure. Hand them out. We're going to start the public hearing on our asphalt pavement and concrete pavement projects. So, the lady's going to be handing out cards. Only 3 to really got to have cards.
Oh, thank you very much.
On record, we do. It's easier.
Just so we get a written record of.
Okay, that's fine. So fill out your card and just hand them up here, and we'll call you one by one.
Would you like me to start off with the...
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Okay. In accordance with State Statute 66.0703, this public hearing is being held to levy assessments for the proposed pavement improvements which are included in the 2017 Capital Improvements Program.
Have a good one, Dave.
All of the projects being considered tonight will be included in contracts administered by the City of Green Bay Department of Public Works Engineering Division. All of the proposed assessments are being levied in accordance with the city's assessment ordinance. During construction, the contractor is required to provide access to businesses at all times and residences as much as practical. When a residential driveway is inaccessible, the property owners or tenants can receive permission from the city police department to park on adjoining streets. Problems during construction should be brought to the attention of the Department of Public Works Engineering Division by calling 920-448-3100. Asphalt pavement. Madison Street from Law Street to 365 feet north of Cass is classified as a local street in a predominantly residentially zoned area. The existing asphalt street is in poor condition and is in need of reconstruction. Madison Street will be reconstructed with a 3 1/4 inch asphalt pavement over a gravel base with a clear width of 30 feet. The estimated cost of pavement construction is $410,000. Sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main will be reconstructed and/or rehabilitated prior to pavement reconstruction. New storm sewer will also be installed from Cass Street to the East Mason Street underpass. No assessments will be levied for the sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main improvements except for the new storm sewer constructed from Cass Street to East Mason. And we said that the assessment hearing for that storm sewer will occur at the next INS meeting. That is not part of this particular hearing. The estimated cost for the new storm sewer from Cass to East Mason is $225,000. Sitka Street from Superior Road to Ontario Road is classified as a collector street in a predominantly residential zoned area. The existing asphalt road is a rural road section in poor condition and is in need of reconstruction. Sitka Street will be reconstructed with curb and gutter and a 3 1/4 inch asphalt pavement over a gravel base with a typical clear width of 36 feet. Estimated cost of pavement construction is $660,000. Sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main will be installed for the pavement reconstruction. Assessments will be levied for sewer improvements. The estimated cost of the sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main are $550,000, $630,000, and $140,000 respectively. Superior Road from Sitka Street to 40 feet north of Gilbert Drive is classified as a collector street in a predominantly residentially zoned area. The existing asphalt road is a rural road section in poor condition and is in need of reconstruction. Sitka Street will be reconstructed with curb and gutter and a 3 1/4 inch asphalt pavement over gravel base with a typical clear width of 36 feet. The estimated cost of pavement construction is $210,000. Sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main will be installed prior to pavement reconstruction. The cost of sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main is $140,000, $130,000, and $70,000 respectively. South Van Buren Street from Stewart Street to East Walnut Street is classified as a local street in a predominantly residential zoned area. Existing asphalt pavement's in poor condition and is in need of reconstruction. South Van Buren Street will be reconstructed with a 3 1/4 inch asphalt pavement over a gravel base with a clear width of 30 feet. Estimated cost of pavement construction is $300,000. Sanitary sewer, storm sewer, or water main will be reconstructed and/or rehabilitated prior to pavement reconstruction. No assessments will be levied for the sewer and water main improvements. Concrete pavement. South Webster Avenue from Mason Street to 350 feet south of Poor Lear Street is classified as a principal arterial in a predominantly residential and office residential zoned area. Existing concrete street with asphalt overlay is in poor condition and is in need of reconstruction. South Webster Avenue will be reconstructed with an 8-inch concrete pavement over gravel base, having a clear width of 58 feet. The estimated cost of pavement construction is $980,000. Prior to reconstruction, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main will be reconstructed and/or rehabilitated as needed. No assessments will be levied for the sewer and water improvements. Poor Lear Street from Van Buren Street to Webster Avenue is classified as a collector street in a residential and office residential zoned area. Existing concrete street with asphalt overlay is in poor condition and in need of reconstruction. Poor Lear Street will be reconstructed with an 8-inch concrete pavement over a gravel base, having a clear width of 40 feet. Estimated cost of pavement construction is $140,000. Prior to reconstruction, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main will be reconstructed and/or rehabilitated as needed. No assessments will be levied for the sewer or water improvements.
All right, refresh my memory, we just go through the cards in.
Yep.
Okay. Start with Madison Street with John Mueller, or Miller, 639 South Madison Street.
He's not present, he just wanted his views read.
Oh, okay. Reconstruction of Madison Street, Law Street to East Mason Street. I am for the asphalt pavement project and agree with the pavement special assessments. I am, however, against the special assessment for the storm sewer work. The storm sewer serves no purpose to the residents on Madison Street because they don't need to run sump pumps. John Miller or Mueller? Okay, next one is Kelly McHugh, 212 South Van Buren Street.
I'm concerned with that you're only doing 2 blocks. You're doing from South or Walnut Street to Stewart Street, when the whole street is in disrepair. And I've talked to all the engineers and everybody keeps saying that's all the money we have reserved. if you're gonna do a street, do the whole street right. I mean, if you go up into the 400 block, part of that street is already starting to slant in, it's the hill part of the street. And I know they say, oh, the sewers are fine, but down by the Stewart Street end, the sewer pipe or something is like 42 inches, the rest are 18. My question is, if you're gonna do it, why wouldn't you do it right? Not just, you have some money to do a portion. You would do the whole street correctly, that in 10 years, when you do another section, in 10 more years, you do another section, that you're not having to go back, but do everything correctly. It's kind of like building a house and putting everything except for the walls so you don't have enough money. I just don't understand why it's just 2 blocks, because you have the money and they say that that part of the street, I guess, is the worst part of the street, from what I'm understanding.
I don't know who's told you that it's a financial issue, that,
Your engineer told me that.
which one might?
Can't remember her name. There was 2, I talked to an Emma and then Emma's boss.
Emma's boss happens to be sitting right here.
What is your name?
Kristen.
Kristen, I spoke with you.
Yeah, I never.
You said, yeah, you did. So did Emma.
It was a financial.
You said it's a financial, that they only have money for the 2 blocks. That's what I've
The
been told.
reason that the limits were selected as they were is because that's how the request came in from the former alderman in that district.
A request for just 2 blocks, not the
The
whole
former
street?
alderman in that district identified the blocks that he wanted us to consider, and that's what we considered.
So he's a former alderman, he's not the present alderman. Why wouldn't you go back and reassess the whole entire street again? Because he's the former alderman, he's no longer the alderman of that area. Why wouldn't you go back as city council and say, hey, let's reassess this project and let's do it right, instead of just 2 blocks?
That's up to the council.
That's what I'm asking the council, why?
Should do the whole street?
If you do, you're looking at putting it in the, back in the pecking order.
You couldn't do it this year if you're going to do the whole street.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying, is
Okay.
wait and do it correctly, not just a portion of the street because a former alderman recommended it. Why wouldn't you assess the whole street from, top to bottom and do it correctly in, 5 years from now, where you have to do the whole street, but everything is connected correctly, everything matches, it's all right, instead of just 2 blocks of a street, when that street goes all the way up to Mason Street. It goes from Walnut to Mason.
Question, Steve, I mean, is this normal procedure? Does it need it? I mean,
Well,
just because the former alderman put in a request, I mean, should the whole street be taken care of?
This was Alderman Dwayne?
No, no. How much more is the rest?
Part of
Mark, is it
it,
two?
that part is my section. So it must have been voiced before. The 2 blocks is in my district.
this is not inconsistent with how we select projects. It's not out of the ordinary to have a 2-block section in the middle of an area, and as a matter of fact, we have both Van Buren.
Madison's 2 blocks as well.
What's that?
Madison is 2 blocks as well.
Right, Madison is a 2-block, and weren't we looking at Roosevelt? And same thing, it was a 2-block, it was the 100 and 200 blocks. When the request came in, we did go out and take a look at it, and staff concurred with the request that was submitted by the alderman, which is why we didn't recommend to extend the limits any further than what the alderman requested.
So did the alderman just say my 2 blocks? He wasn't alderman of, because I know when I lived in the 400 block, I had, it was Andy? Can't remember what his name was. He was up and then, so he just wanted the former alderman just wanted his 2 blocks of his district to be done? And as a city, why wouldn't you assess the whole street from top to bottom, instead of just 2 blocks because that was somebody's district and they said, well, I think my 2 blocks need it more than the other 2 blocks. I'm just curious, because it's a big cost being handed on to the residents. It's not a rich neighborhood, not that a lot of Green Bay is, but my other concern is you have quite a few rental properties just on that 2-block radius. How is that gonna affect it? They're not the best landlords around. Are they gonna either up their tenants' rent? Or they just going to leave their structures just high and dry, like that's happened down on Crooks when, you know, Works eventually took over? They're just gonna become slumlords and not pay their bills? Or why wouldn't you as a city assess the whole street from top to bottom and say, okay, yeah, if you can justify this and say only these 2 blocks are the worst and the rest is fine, that's good. But because a former alderman said, yeah, I want my 2 blocks done, you're going off of that?
No, I
You didn't
said,
go up the whole street and do a whole survey, whole x-ray?
I said the former alderman recommended it. My staff went out, reviewed it, and concurred with the alderman's request.
But just those 2 blocks?
Correct.
You didn't go up the rest of the street though to see?
We ride every block of every street every 2 years and assign numerical ratings to every block. So yes, my staff is very familiar with the road conditions across the
Okay.
city of Green Bay.
Now, is there, I know Mr. Scam, right? I spoke with him today. Are you gonna do anything to help the residents of the 2 blocks for payment? I mean, $2,000 is a lot. I know you said,
This committee, I think,
okay, then it's out of your hands, then you guys don't do that. But I'm just saying for future, you know, that's a lot of money. And the park next to me needs to be fixed too, which I talked to you about that, it won't drain. You know, so if you're gonna do that 2 blocks, you're gonna do it all properly where you can get that park to drain also? Yes, no?
You're speaking to the Department of Public Works. If you have an issue with a park.
I have spoken with them. They don't
We've
do
taken
it.
that to Parks and to Public
I've
Works.
taken
I
it to
think it's been-
Parks, Public Works, I don't know where to
A
go
park-
anymore.
A
It
park
just
is
doesn't-
not under our jurisdiction.
I know, but if you're going to be doing the whole entire street, wouldn't you be doing the whole entire street right so the property owners don't have, like that park next to me floods? Wouldn't you put the proper drainage in there too? Because aren't you guys putting sewer? You're putting sewer pipes or, I don't know the correct terminology.
The park is not under our jurisdiction and
But it's in that 2 blocks.
our project does not address the park. We're taking care of the road. The
Anything
Parks
that was-
Department would need to address any drainage issues within the park boundaries itself.
If the drainage is coming from the street, it would get cleaned up. If it's in the park is gonna take care
It
of it.
goes over your sidewalks into your street, so.
It sounds like more park.
No, it's really just public testimony, but I can concur that I have long streets that are 6, 8, 10, 12 blocks long, and a lot of times it'll be a block or 2 done, because it's the worst part, so it's not uncommon. But I did want to know what perhaps the alderman thought. Are you in favor of this moving ahead this year?
I guess I would defer to staff if you think that this needs it. I mean, I think there's lots of stretches that need, you know, we need all over the city.
Well,
And-
Director
and I
Grenier
know
stated that it's needed, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't bring forward a project I didn't think is necessary. If the council decides that they would want to defer this, and Lord knows I've got plenty of 2-block segments all over the city that need addressing.
On a scale of like 1 to 10, or 1 to 5, we'll go 1 to 5.
Oh, we'll do it 1 to 10.
1 to 10.
3
What
and
is
4.
it at right now?
3 and 4.
10 being the worst?
10 being the best.
Oh, okay.
We ride every block of every street in the city of Green Bay
Curious.
every other year, and they get a numerical rating.
That's
I have the
fine.
ratings right here.
That's absolutely fine, I'm just curious.
And like I told you, it wouldn't matter how much of the street is done, your special assessment would stay the same.
Correct.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just saying that to do it right would make more sense to do the whole street instead of, you know, chopping it up and every 10 years doing another portion and then another portion.
Seems to be, I didn't know, but that seems to be the standard practice. That happens, so I wasn't aware of how that works.
Odd,
Yeah.
very odd.
Any other questions, concerns? No? No? Okay.
I can't do
I
anything.
just wanna move
I
forward.
I stated my opinion and.
Right. Okay. The next card. Joel Erfurth, 2260. I can't even read this.
It's not that bad, is it?
No, I don't have my glasses.
Oh.
Representing who is Dan Schmidt, 3065 Sitka. You want to state your name and,
Sure, it's Joel Erfurth, I'm with Mach 4 Engineering,
Okay.
representing Dan Schmidt.
okay.
I guess we'd just like to, we've been working with staff for over a year now on some of these other subdivisions that Mr. Grenier alluded to. I guess we'd like to see if everyone would consider, because it's kind of a unique case. Mr. Schmidt owns essentially the entire width of Sitka with the exception of like 2 lots. So it's kind of unique in that his assessments are, while he owns a lot, his assessments are, fairly substantial. For example, the paving is half of what Mr. Grenier indicated by nature of him boring both sides of the road. But because these subdivisions are all tied into this, it's almost like a common plan of development. We're hoping to see, and talked to Mr. Burnett earlier in the week, and hopefully everyone can view this project as a whole when we're looking at these assessments. We haven't even seen the water, sewer, utility that are coming, but just to see if there's some flexibility. We have a request in for a developer's agreement that some of those details perhaps can be worked out there. But we'd like to see if staff would consider working with us and the council as well and trying to come up with a plan and work these details out in the developer's agreement. Because it's going to be a substantial amount of assessments, and then coupled with the cash bonds and the escrows and so forth. Like to see the projects move forward in timely manners. I'm sure Public Works would as well. And kind of give you a flavor for what he's looking at doing. He's looking at putting in 61 single-family, very nice homes, larger lots, very similar, or if not better than what Christie Lee Estates is, which is in that area, which I checked this morning. Most of the homes in there have about a $5,000 tax bill. So if you equate that times the 61 lots coming up, you're looking at probably annual revenue to the city of over $3 million. So there's some a lot of positives that can be brought forward with the project. So we just asked if you could take a look at it as a whole, and continue to work with staff on those projects.
Director Grenier?
Is Dan interested in doing the work on Sitka as part of the developer's agreement as opposed to letting it out as a contract?
No, that's not what we're saying. There's a lot of details on Sitka Street that I think need to be tied into these developments. I haven't seen a set of plans. I know originally, conceptually, that pond was going to be located up in the city property in the northwest corner.
Correct.
And cutting through Mr. Schmidt's property. Maybe that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
But there is no plat, there's no easements, there's no right-of-way. Those are the kind of details, we need to sit down with you guys and work through.
Absolutely.
But no, he has no interest in doing Sitka Street. That's
Oh, okay. I
No.
was trying to figure out what he was, when you said working out
No, it's
details, I was
just
trying to
instead of-
figure out what
Sure, we're
details
going
you were looking to
forward
work out.
As a team.
Yeah, it's just, we got this pavement assessment.
We're going forward as a team, aren't we, Steve?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we've been working with
Right.
Joel and Lisa for over a year on the development of subdivisions,
All right.
and this is all kind of tied together, so
Okay.
yes.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, I don't see anybody else, Director Grenier.
Nope,
So,
you can.
Close the
declare
hearing?
public closed.
okay, do I need a vote, or can I just do it
Nope.
as chairman?
As chair, you
Okay.
can just declare the hearing
I
closed.
will just close the public hearing, and we'll move forward to Improvement of Services Committee, or continue where we left off.
If I could, Mr. Chairman,
Oh,
when
go
do
ahead.
we actually make decisions on what we just say, is that next time, or?
Nope, right now.
Okay.
What we'd be looking for is to entertain a motion to approve the projects for construction and order that the special assessments be levied.
I move to do that.
Okay, motion to move forward with the projects?
Approve the projects and
Approve
order
the-
special assessments levied.
Sounds good. By Netting,
Second.
need a second by Worry, under discussion, hearing none, all in favor? Nays, motion carried. Okay, moving back to Improvement Services Committee. Where are we at, Steve?
Just jotting down a couple of quick notes.
Okay, take your
Say
time.
if anything comes up, just reach out to the chairman or the vice chair, and we're glad to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're back to, under Stormwater Management, 500 South Broadway Lift Station replacement. That one's kind of, it doesn't necessarily sound familiar to you, but that is that basin 108 where the lift station down on South Broadway, that, again, we're showing no cost to the city. That's one of the ones that's being funded with that excess stadium district tax money. Then we get into the annual sewer projects, so annual sewer repairs citywide. That's just things that pop up during the course of a normal year for both sanitary and storm. TV inspection of sewers for 2017. Then sewer rehabilitation for the resurfacing program. So this is the sewer work that goes along associated with our asphalt resurfacing program. Mini storm citywide, root treatment that we do in sanitary sewers, and then chronic sewer repairs citywide. So this is our no trouble locations. Moving to page 6 of 7, we bonded some money a year ago in TIF 14 for the Kellogg Street extension that's in the Larson Green. So that's moving forward. We've actually got a consultant engaged doing some design work there. And then we're looking at Erie Road from East Mason Street to 800 feet south. We have a developer who's interested in purchasing that city-owned property out there, and we need to be able to get sanitary sewer service down to them. And tied together with that is the south branch of the Baird Creek East Side Interceptor. That project started in about 2005 or thereabouts, and it's currently stops within the Grandview Place subdivision. So this would carry that interceptor sewer south through Grandview Place, past Finger Road, and down into the East Mason Street extension, and that will service East Mason Street from the east city limits back to Ontario, or back to Erie Road, and that's gonna open up a couple hundred acres of commercial property for further development. And as a matter of fact, by getting that interceptor sewer in, we should be able to provide sanitary sewer service from Erie to the east city limits, all the way down to the south city limits on the border with Bellevue. That brings us up to the wonderful back page, which is the one that always causes the sticker shock with everyone. So we have about a $10 million pavement program. By the time we factor in fees and contingencies, we're almost $11 million. We're carrying forward about $6.4 million from last year. So we're looking at about a 4.5, a little bit north of $4.5 million request for bonding for pavements. Storm sewers, we got a little over a $9 million program. So when you factor in contingencies and fees, it's about a $10 million program. We carried forward about $4 million, plus the sanitary, or the storm sewer budget allocates over about 1.775 million, so it's about a $4.3 million bond issue for storm sewers. Sanitary sewers, we're at about a $2.42 million, $638,000 with fees and contingencies brings us up to almost $4.9 million for a program cost, carrying forward about $1.59 million and $200,000 contribution from the sanitary district. We're looking at about a $3.1 million bond issue for sanitary. We've got our annual parking ramp repairs. It's about a $600,000 total contract. We carried forward about $35,000, so a need of about $565,000. Going to the middle of the page, we show the summary of the different programs. So our total bond request is about 12.475 million. Of that, 4.27 million is supported by the stormwater utility and 3.1 million is supported by the sanitary district. That's very important to keep those numbers in mind because the stormwater utility actually supports its own bonding that comes out of the stormwater charges that people pay on their water bill. And the sanitary sewer district bonding is supported by your sanitary sewer bill. So there's a debt service charge when we talk about the sanitary sewer utility every year. So of the almost $12.5 million that we're looking at bonding this year, only 5.1 million of that is levy-supported borrowing. And going back to the far right-hand side, you can see our combined bond requests over the last several years, going back to 1985. By way of comparison, in 2016, and I ran back up to grab these because I saw Vanderleest was asking some of the similar questions during Parks. Our levy-supported borrowing in 2016 was 6.42 million as compared to 5.11 this year. 2015 levy-supported borrowing was $5.71 million. In 2014, it was $4.2 million. So we're holding consistent or a little bit below the last several years. The reason for that is because we've been able to leverage some of that other money that came out of the stadium district. And we're trying to put that to good use to help offset some of the program costs, keep that service down for the taxpayers.
I have a question, Steve.
Absolutely.
I asked you this before, over on East Mason Street and Schwartz in that area. Is that report still, it's not, yeah, for stormwater, is that, did anything final come out of that report yet? What to do with that area?
I did have a quick conversation with Matt Heckenlabel about it, and he doesn't have a final report on it yet. What he was looking at was some sort of a regional facility to try to get some stormwater management over there to help take care of some of those issues. And at least the preliminary numbers that are coming back on it is the size of the pond is actually larger than what the area being served is. So we'd quite literally be taking an entire city block of houses out just to provide some stormwater management in order to do any good.
But, okay, whenever Zima brought forward the communication on some of those areas that had some flooding or some, I mean, that was one of the areas that was recognized with over on Smith and over on down by on Broadway and on Chestnut or Maple, wherever. Wouldn't that entertain any type of lift station?
I don't know
to
that
alleviate some of the problems there?
I don't think
because it's just, I know you made a comment that it was private, it was on private land, but also, I mean, it is low enough where there is some problems there in the streets.
And again, I would have to have a conversation, and I know Jim is jotting some notes down, so he'll be having that conversation with Matt and the design staff over there. But
because that was one of the recognized areas. I mean, remember that map that came out, that green map?
Yep.
Red, that was one of the areas.
Yeah, and
so, I mean, are we gonna address that?
I'd have to go back and check with Matt. I think if memory serves, what he said was when they did take a look at it, they were looking at it as far as providing detention over there. Okay. And the detention basin was almost
seems
larger
than
what the
I mean,
area
isn't
was,
there another
right?
Solution besides taking out a whole city block? I mean, it seems
that's
pretty severe.
That's why we wouldn't recommend to do that. I mean, you're taking out the very houses you're trying to protect.
Right. So aren't we looking at a different solution?
Again, I need to sit down and talk to Matt about it.
Okay.
I think what we're...
But could you ask him if he's looking for something else? Because
the biggest thing
to me, that's...
We were looking at
a
there...
pond like that is just a waste of time.
It's ponding in the middle of the block. And generally speaking, when it's in the private side of the properties like that, then the neighbors are the ones who have to get together to resolve that. So if they put in...
But what's the difference between that area than over on Smith and Broadway and Maple Street? or
The
Chestnut?
one
whatever.
on Smith Street, we actually have ponding out in the road that's the problem, as opposed to ponding in the backyards of the residences. And the one on Broadway, because the sewer itself is backing up, that's right near where the discharge is. And the discharge is underwater at the Fox River.
Okay,
So there's
And we do
there's
that.
pressure backing the water up. If
Right.
you put a pump in, you can overcome that pressure and help get that water out.
okay, could you just, I guess I'm looking for.
Yep.
If.
Like I said, Jim's jotting the notes
okay,
down, so we'll
if-
start those
if-
conversations
If there's
tomorrow.
another solution besides a pond,
Yep,
and does it warrant a lift station in that area?
yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, you looking for a motion to approve?
I have a question.
Okay,
on,
go ahead, Dave.
Page 6 or 7, the two TIF things.
Yes.
I presume that there's money in those TIF districts, right? So we don't have to bond for it.
TIF 14, we actually bonded for a year ago, and TIF 12, that's the East Mason Street, I-43 Industrial Park.
There's sufficient
There's
funding.
there's
that was
money
that
in
TIF.
that TIF already, so we don't need to bond for it. Correct.
Just want to be sure I understood. Okay, so,
Motion to approve?
yeah, move to approve
By
and
Denning.
forward to the Finance Committee.
Second by,
Second.
were you under discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Moving forward, number 8, consideration with possible action on approval of the following plat of right-of-way. Mather Street from Roman to Roy Avenue, project ID 4987-02-00. Director Kinnear.
Okay, this is, Mather Street is one of the projects that we're doing with some funding coming in from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. So following through with the DOT's procedures, there is in your packet, item number 8, shows the right-of-way plat. There are certain parcels where the contractor is going to have to be working outside of the right-of-way. In most cases, the additional right-of-way required is for minor grading outside of the existing right-of-way, so we would be looking to execute what are referred to as temporary limited easements for these cases. There's 3 properties where the city will be purchasing minor amounts of property from the residents. The largest of these is a 29 square foot piece of property at the northwest corner of Holzer and Mather Street. That property acquisition is required for reconstruction of curb and gutter. The approval of the right-of-way plat is the first step of the process. Once that plat is approved by council, we can start the process of attaining easements and acquiring the properties. And then as the properties are targeted for acquisition, we bring each of them back to the committee for approval of the acquisition. And with TLEs, we typically don't have it, but if there were any relo expenses or things of that nature, that all comes back here.
Okay.
So we'd just be looking for approval of the plat.
Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
By Denning, second by Worry, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Nays, motion carried. Number 9, review and approval of a contract with Stiro Appraisal Services in the amount of $11,900 for the appraisal services associated with the acquisition of the right-of-way required for reconstruction of Mather Street. Director Kinnear.
So tied together with item number 8, we actually use an appraisal service to do the appraisals. and help.
Entertain a motion. To approve. By
Second.
Worry, second by Nenning, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Nays, motion carried. 10, consideration of possible action on applications of concrete sidewalk builders license by the following. A, can we take these all at once?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Those are my wishes. AIEI General Contractors, Larry Van Wright Trucking, Anderson Basement Repair, and Paul Connard Construction.
All
Any
4
issues?
All 4 have held licenses, recommend approval.
Move to approve.
Motion by Nenning, second by Worry, under discussion. Here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 11, consideration of possible action for tree brush trimmer license by the following. I want to take A, B, and C together. Best Stump Grinding, Beaver Tree Specialist, S&D Tree Services.
All 3 have held licenses in the
Okay.
past, and we recommend.
Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
By
Second.
Worry,
Second.
second by Henning, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 12, Director's Report.
The only thing that I
Director
wish to
Kinnear.
report tonight is just to remind the committee that, again, next meeting, 2 weeks from tonight, we will again have public hearings, and we're going to be dealing with the resurfacing program, among other things, next meeting. I did receive a communication from Alderman Weary earlier today, so I did want to remind the rest of the committee. When we had the resurfacing hearings last year, Shirley Street was delayed until this year, but because it went through the hearing process and was approved, but was approved for construction in 17, it will be part of the program, we're just not gonna have the hearing on it next week. So just in case anybody's confused about it, it went through its hearing last year. So,
Is that it, Steve?
That'll be done by
That's
the end of
it.
May.
Okay,
right? Shirley, will
entertain
be
a
done
motion
by
to
the
receive
end
and
of
place
May.
on file by
I love
Denning,
it.
second by Worry. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Nenning, second by Worry. Under
I
discussion.
feel like you weren't waiting for any of those things.
No, but, you know what?
Just killing time.
Yeah, how you guys doing?